And this have started Metal Gear for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Unlike its gameplay, there's nothing stealthy about the popularity of Metal Gear. Konami's tactical espionage action series has obviously been a tremendous success. It's sold more than 26 million copies worldwide and given rise to some of the gaming industry's most iconic characters. It's not just a franchise, it's the franchise, and this is where it all started. Well, sort of. Now, this is Metal Gear, which is the debut of the series, but this is the NES version, which is not the original Metal Gear. To bring their newborn franchise over to the States, Konami released this game on the NES, which is based on another game designed by a young developer named Hideo Kojima for the MSX2 Japanese home computer system. That game was called Metal Gear, and this game is technically a port. The differences between the two versions start with some pretty major plot changes and infiltrate their way into the gameplay as well. Changes which did not meet the approval of Kojima. And perhaps most importantly, the Metal Gear itself, that huge nuclear-powered mechanical walker, doesn't even appear in this version. The device after which the entire franchise would be named was removed for the NES game. Fortunately, the core gameplay wasn't tampered with too much. Even on the NES, the first Metal Gear is a very competent and enjoyable stealth game which ultimately laid the groundwork for an entire genre. One of the coolest things about Metal Gear is that it lets you play through Solid Snake's inaugural mission. He may be a legend these days, but in Metal Gear he's just a rookie. It's up to you to guide him through jungles and bunkers and fortresses, all the while going unnoticed. As the series subheading would later emphasize, it's a game of tactical espionage action, and although it does feel primitive compared to more contemporary iterations, Metal Gear certainly delivers that. Indeed, sneaking past sleepy guards was as fun in 1987 as it is today. What's a lot less fun, however, is starting over again and again. And again. And unfortunately, you have to do precisely that in Metal Gear. Solid Snake's health is minimal, to say the least, and just a few brushes with enemies is all it takes to kill him. And then it's back to the game's opening frame. Get used to the game's opening frame. Of course, Snake's thin health does encourage you to find optimal routes for sneaking through the game's environments, but it doesn't leave you any room for mistakes. Metal Gear takes a bit of trial and error to learn where traps are and which routes are deadly, and unfortunately one mistake means you start all over. Now, some may call that challenging, but a lot of times it just feels cheap. There's no way around it. Solid Snake's American debut just isn't quite as good as his Japanese debut. Unfortunately, the MSX2 is sort of hard to come by these days, but Konami included that version as a bonus in the 2006 release Metal Gear Solid 3 for the PlayStation 2. So if you want to play Metal Gear the way Kojima intended you to, that's the version to seek out. But make no mistake, if you stumble across the NES version, don't hesitate to pick it up. It's a bit flawed and a tad frustrating, to say the least, but it's a lot of fun. And if you want to see this snake sneak through the grass for the very first time, you've got to play Metal Gear.